welcome back. We've got our members in attendance, apart from the left. Members, before we start, are there any declaration of interest you'd like to make before this meeting starts? Members have no declaration of interest. Okay, thank you. Should we go around the table and introduce ourselves again? I'm Councillor Taylor and I'm Chair.
Hi, I'm Councillor Colshire and I'm from the Council.
I'm Councillor Brenda Monteith from Calderdale Council.
I'm Councillor Fazal, Charlotte Fazal from Calderdale Council.
I'm Jack Dyson from Wakefield Council.
Good morning, I'm Jo Sykes, I'm an independent member on the panel.
Fiona Bernardo, Partnerships Officer.
Tracy Braden, the Mayor of West Yorkshire. Alison Lowe, Deputy Mayor for Police and Crime nominee.
Andrew Carter, Leeds City Council. Councillor Anthony Smith, Kirklees. Trevor Lake, Independent Member.
Councillor Nusrat Mohammed, Bradford Council.
I've got deja vu. Councillor Lynn Masterman, Wakefield Council.
Councillor Celia Hickson, Bradford Council.
Jo Freeman, HR Advisor.
Sharon Fraser from Wakefield Council, Legal Advisor to the panel.
And Samantha Wilkinson, Police and Crime Panel Officer.
Thank you. Before we go into the meeting, can I just outline how the meeting will proceed today? As I mentioned earlier, my name is Councillor Taylor and I will be chairing the crime panel. I'd like to welcome everyone today to the confirmation area. I would especially like to welcome Alison Lowe, who is the Mayor West Yorkshire Proceed candidate for the role of Deputy Mayor for Police and Crime. The panel member have already been introduced to us all, so I will just take a moment to set out what we are going to do this morning and how we are going to set about that. This morning meetings is a confirmation hearing for the panel to review the mayor's proposal appointment of a deputy mayor for police and crime in line with the requirements. The hearing is a public meeting and it is being live streamed for those who cannot attend in person. The panel have been provided in advance with information from the mayor about the role and information about Alison's skill, knowledge and experience to help us in our consideration. When we begin, I will pass over to the mayor to introduce Alison if she wants to say a few words. Therefore, we move on to the questions. The panel have a number of questions that they would like to ask Alison, and if there's anything that Alison would like to clarify or ask the panel, then please feel free to do so. When the panel has come to the end of the question, and if you, Alison, have any more questions to the panel, the public meeting will close. Panel will then go into private panel members only session to come to a decision and its proposed and its report and recommendation to the mayor and the appointment. The report will be sent to the mayor within 3 working days. Are there any questions at the proposed meeting? No. Can I also point out that I've got two friends from HR who will be and conductors in the meeting. So can I ask Tracy to introduce Alison?
Thank you so much, Chair. And I would like to introduce Alison Lowe as my nominated candidate for the role of Deputy Mayor for Policing and Crime. Alison has been an exceptional Deputy Mayor for Policing and Crime, delivering on my plan to create a safer West Yorkshire. Over the last 3 years, she's gained the trust and confidence of many in the community, disaffected by politicians and the police, and profoundly used her lived experience to hold a critical mirror to our police force, holding senior officers to account for their decisions. In so doing, I really believe we've driven better outcomes for the people that we serve. But we've only just got started. I want to continue working alongside Alison over the next 4 years because I know together we'll not only drive improvements for our region, but we'll also be able to influence national policy making on police and crime, benefiting not just the people of West Yorkshire, but the people across the country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Tracy. We have got a few questions that we'd like to ask Alison. So the first question we'll ask by Councillor Shaw.
Thanks, Chair. I came onto this panel at the same time as you, Alison, and I'd just like to thank you for your work. I think you're open, transparent, you're very approachable, you're passionate and dedicated about your role and hard working, so I just want to thank you for all the work you've done. My question is, what do you see as the main challenges and opportunities of a second term?
Thank you for your kind words. I've been thinking about this, I made a few notes. I think the biggest challenge, and maybe also opportunity, is the expectations of the public around devolution. 3 years in, I think more of the public understand the opportunities that a mayor can bring, but that also then brings additional challenges in terms of the time and the space that they give the mayor and me to deliver for them, because I think that the trust in politicians is at an all-time low, as it is in other sectors. And so I think we've got a job of work to be able to talk to the public about the opportunities of devolution, but also explain that we're working within the context of local authority cuts, austerity more generally. I was told the other day that one of our local authority partners has reduced their community safety partnership team from 13 down to 1. We know that cuts to policing are still happening. In the medium-term financial forecast over the next 3 years, we're going to be losing £82.5 million if those predictions come to full fruition. We hope they don't, but they could. And so the expectations of the public of what the mayor can do, what the mayor can deliver, bearing in mind she's delivered a lot in the first 3 years, I think that will be a risk. I also think that the fact that austerity has limited on our partners' ability to deliver, not just local authorities but criminal justice sector partners. We talked earlier about the huge waiting list to get through the court system. We know what's happening in prisons, probation cuts. All those things mean that the whole of the criminal justice system is under more pressure than it's ever been before, and the role of policing will be considered through that lens. So that is a challenge. I think on a day-to-day basis, the protests that we've seen since last October are having a massive impact on resourcing for police. We've had nearly 600 protests and other events since last October here in West Yorkshire, and they're not ending. We've got another 40 in the diary in the coming weeks. And this is having a huge impact on the day-to-day operations of West Yorkshire Police, all forces, but West Yorkshire Police in particular. That is a problem. Also looking at things like mental health. We understand that the health of the public has been deteriorating, that the mental health of policing is also a factor. And when you think that assaults on policing have doubled since 2020, as we said, trust and confidence is at an all-time low. That will only, I think, get worse as we go forward. So opportunities. Obviously, devolution is a huge opportunity. Yes, it brings those extra added expectations, but it's a huge opportunity in terms of the reach that the mayor has into activity across West Yorkshire, into communities across West Yorkshire, that will hopefully help to prevent crime, help to create a sense of safety and security for the people that we're serving. We've talked about the PCSOs on the buses, but we're going to be developing a serious violence strategy this over the next year or so, and devolution gives us the opportunity to be working with every college in West Yorkshire because of the powers that the mayor has over jobs and skills. We'll be able to work with wider West Yorkshire Combined Authority because they've got reach into so many places in West Yorkshire. So, for example, every student going into colleges, the Combined Authority has a route into every young person. We're talking about prevention and early intervention. That's a great opportunity, but in relation to the serious violence strategy and talking to young people about what's going to work for them, I think is essential. I think the opportunity of further engagement with the people of West Yorkshire is a massive opportunity. So when we were on the doors for the mayoral elections, we got such great engagement from the public, and I think that that's an area that we can do much more in. And the police and crime plan consultation that has already started, the serious violence strategy work and consultation that we're planning, I think will give us a much better opportunity to talk to the people of West Yorkshire about not just policing but community safety, their role in that. I think we can get a better conversation, maybe a contract between the Mayor and the people of West Yorkshire about how we do this together, because we can't do it on our own. I think obviously the election is a potential opportunity, irrespective of who wins. Everyone's promising more policing. Having said that, it's not just about more police officers. Those cuts that I've talked about, the 82.5 million, they're happening no matter what. And so we can't just have more policing if we don't have more funding for back office functions and infrastructure and all the assets that we've got to maintain. Obviously, we can talk about opportunities of things like AI. There are obviously threats associated with that. The Violence Against Women and Girls and Police Race Action Plan work that we've already started. But I could talk for a long time about lots of different things, but I think that there are lots and lots of things that we can capitalise on that we've done in the first 3 years, and more to come, but we've got to be aware of the risks and how to manage those to the benefit of the people of West Yorkshire.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dixon.
Alison, we've heard this morning about some of the exciting initiatives that you've already initiated, but I'd like to ask you now about how you're going to involve new hard-to-reach people and communities in neighbourhood policing to increase representation in local communities.
So I'm really pleased to ask about that, because we've already started to plan out our consultation and engagement strategy for both the police and crime plan, but definitely the serious violence strategy. And we don't want to be talking to the same old. So obviously our key partners are important, our local authority partners, criminal justice, CSPs, all the rest of it. We need to be talking to people whose voices have never been heard before. We need to be talking to parents about what their role is in keeping young people safe, what their role is in education and prevention. We need to be talking to schools. We need to be all schools of all denominations and difference. We need to be talking to young people. We've got lots of different mechanisms to talk to young people. We're not scratching the surface. We're not talking to young people who are already being exploited, already on the edges of criminality, let alone those ones who are heavily engaged in criminal activity. We're not talking to those young people, and we need to, because they know how they got in, they know how to prevent other people getting in, and they know how to get themselves out if we give them the right support. I think we've got really engaged communities, so we know older people are very interested in policing and crime, but actually we don't talk to enough groups across the whole of West Yorkshire. I was really fortunate to go to South Kirby a couple of weeks ago for the second time, and really diverse group in terms of age and lived experience. And I did not know that this beautiful place in Wakefield actually has got a bit of a problem with serious and organised criminality because of its coterminosity with South Yorkshire, and actually there've been some really quite nasty offences being committed there. But for going to lovely, as I thought, South Kirby, I would never have known that. So I think it's not just about groups by protected characteristic, it's got to be groups by area, it's got to be those groups that don't feel able to engage and connect with policing or politicians or any community engagement process. I've got a professional experience of community development, and so I understand about asset-based community development and how we do that, and obviously I've got a really experienced engagement team who have been doing some brilliant work, and they've got thousands and thousands and thousands of individuals and groups that they're currently working with, and we want to expand that so that we're listening to more people. But the process of the serious violence strategy development, that's going to be a huge opportunity to talk to more people. We want to create a movement. We want the whole of West Yorkshire to be talking about serious violence, how we work together to prevent it, how we deal with the scourge that already exists, and how we all co-produce those solutions. And by talking to more people, that's how we're going to get to the right end result.
Okay, your feet. Sure.
Thank you, Chair. So Alison, can you give some examples of how you've successfully worked across political party boundaries to achieve outcomes for local communities during the last 3 years?
Yeah, thank you. So I think obviously this is the first example, the police and crime panel. I think I've worked really well and effectively, despite the scrutiny. I think I've worked really effectively with all of you, irrespective of being independent or having a different political persuasion to mine. I recall one of my very first meetings when Councillor then Amanda Carter talked to me about road safety and how passionate she was that we did something different with the West Yorkshire Safety Camera Partnership and how frustrated she was that local people and local councillors weren't being listened to, and I really took that on board, and I've given her credit ever since for the work that we've done to develop the community alert system within the Vision Zero process. So now every local authority has a community alert process, and if enough people raise a particular road in their area as being problematic, that it gets assessed. It doesn't have to have had a crash or a death, which is what used to be the criteria, which is very dark. It's all based on the feedback of local people and local councillors. Then there's more input. Then they'll bring their mobile van. They'll put different measures into place to first of all see whether or not that is a problem area, and if it is, then they'll listen to the public and put things in place to keep people safe. That's now written into the West Yorkshire Safety Camera Partnership, which it wasn't before. Continuing with Vision Zero, I went in January to Parliament. Holly Lynch again invited us, but actually it was cross-party. So Andrea Jenkins was there, Jason McCartney was there, various other local West Yorkshire MPs were there, and we talked about Vision Zero, our hopes. We asked them to support our asks regarding graduated driving licences, having a national strategy on road safety, looking at design guidance, for example, and we've continued to work cross-party with all the MPs who were there, encouraging them to support the work that we're doing, and I've been really delighted that actually all those MPs have continued that engagement, and we recognise that this is a West Yorkshire issue and everybody in West Yorkshire, not everybody in West Yorkshire votes Labour. I might not like that, but that is the way it is, and we need to speak to people where they are. They will. Yeah. We need to speak to people where they are, and everybody wants the best for West Yorkshire, but we might have different routes of getting there, but the destination is the same, a safe, just and inclusive West Yorkshire, and we all can buy into that.
Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Alison. What do you see as the Deputy Mayor's key areas of work over the next 4 years, and what targets will you set for those areas of work?
So obviously, delivery of the Mayor's Police and Crime Plan is my #1 objective. I work for the Mayor and through her for the people of West Yorkshire. So that Police and Crime Plan will be a document that's been co-produced with the citizens of West Yorkshire, and it will speak to their priorities, and hopefully it will deliver the outcomes that they seek. So that will be my #1 priority. Clearly, I've got responsibilities around engagement, talking to the public, around commissioning, making sure we're commissioning services that meet the needs that we've got as a county. I've got a national role on the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners, which is around race disparities, equality and human rights, which I'm really passionate about, because that means that I can work with all 43 Police and Crime Commissioners, Deputy Mayors and forces, because I also work with the National Police Chiefs Council on that, to help them to understand why race disparities are a route to loss of confidence in the communities that they're serving. and bringing good practice, and that means that I bring a lot of that good practice back to West Yorkshire. Often, I have to say, I take a lot of good practice from West Yorkshire there, so that's another area of responsibility. The series file strategy, I'll be doing a lot of work to deliver that, because for me it's as much about the conversations, the engagement, the co-production with the people of West Yorkshire as it is about the physical plan at the end. And so I'm going to really ensure that I spend a lot of time talking to the citizens of West Yorkshire about what is worrying them about serious violence, what the solutions are for them. And when we talk about serious violence, it's not just about knife crime, it's about violence against women and girls, it's about violence towards men and boys, it's about domestic abuse, and so we want to have a better conversation, and I want to lead that because I think that my asset-based community development experience is an asset for the team and for the Mayor, but also it's an area of great passion for me personally. So plan, serious violence strategy, obviously undertaking the statutory responsibilities on behalf of the Mayor in terms of engagement, commissioning, holding to account, all those things. But fundamentally it is about delivering for the people of West Yorkshire and helping them, hopefully, to see the difference that Tracy and myself have made to policing in the next 4 years, and hopefully validating their decision to vote for Tracy in the first place.
Thank you. Trevor.
Thanks, Chair. Alison, I think, just to begin, we mustn't underestimate the last 3 years. Those of us that were around the table then, cast your minds back when we had a commissioner in place that moved over to elected mayor. We only had a 3-year period to deliver the plan and the performance in. So I think taking that into account, it's been a very good performance in delivering the agreed plan and the agenda. My question, as you'd expect from some of the financial background, is going forward. How do you think your previous experience in office might help you support the Mayor in addressing the financial challenges that you're going to face over the next 4 years within the sector and moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, and so in terms of wider West Yorkshire, I think devolution does offer some answers for some of our key partners, because Tracy has been able to plug some gaps. She has been able to replace some activity that local authority partners have not been able to deliver, particularly during the cost of living crisis. She set up a cost of living fund, you'll know, where mental health, heating, food, she set up funds to be able to bridge the gap that local authorities were struggling to bridge. So I think that is a positive of devolution. In terms of policing generally, you know, we're all in the same boat. What has happened is that policing have been able to make efficiencies. We've got the productivity review, of course, that has suggested millions of hours of productivity savings that can be made. We will be using that document and the suggestions within that document to see whether or not there are savings, further savings that can be made that don't impact on service delivery. I spoke at a meeting a couple of months ago about domestic abuse and how we had about 70,000 domestic abuse cases a year, nearly 1,500 a week, and that it just wasn't possible for 6,500 police officers to be able to investigate every single one of those nearly 1,500 cases, as well as all the other things that are happening, and give the public the speed of the response that they wanted, the quality of the response that they wanted every time. Obviously, we aspire to that, but not every time. These cuts are going to impact the ability of West Yorkshire Police and other forces to deliver for the public in a timely way, and are going to impact on that trust and confidence. So what we've been doing is using the resources of WICA to oversee the budget information that we get from West Yorkshire Police, to triangulate what they're saying to us, understand what efficiencies can be made. We will be using the productivity review, as I've said, and it isn't about, you know, not having water coolers. It's about how can we use AI, for example. So I talked about the end-to-end review that we've done and the relationship we've built with the Crown Prosecution Service around getting more cases through first time. A big chunk of work for West Yorkshire Police is redacting every single file. For every, so about 300,000 recorded crimes, every file that goes through has got to be redacted, which is huge. And so AI is now being developed that could potentially replace a human being doing that work. And that would have a massive, massive, massive impact on the resources of West Yorkshire Police, if that's possible. There's also disclosure of documents. So every bit of information in a crime has to be assessed. Is it relevant? Should it be disclosed to the other side? They're now looking at AI that might be able to assist with that. Again, that is a huge piece of work. And there are many, many, many ways that West Yorkshire Police and other forces are using technology. Good Sam, for example. So recently, someone rang up and said, someone's just discharged a gun, and the police asked them to use Good Sam, which is a link that they sent to their mobile phone, and they could live stream the area that they thought that gun had been discharged, and actually a gun had not been discharged, so the police did not deploy a really expensive ARV resource to that place, which would have been very expensive and actually a waste resource. So the neighbourhood policing team were able to go in timely fashion to investigate what had happened and obviously having discounted what hadn't happened. So these are the questions we're going to be asking, these are the challenges we're going to be putting forward. We constantly wrote to the last government to ask for more money, and actually sometimes we were fortunate, so we were told that there was going to be a cut to our CSEA specialist unit, the Child Sexual Exploitation specialist unit. Some of you will know has been incredibly successful, so since 2016 they've sentenced perpetrators, about 150 people, to over 2,000 years in prison using the expertise in this unit. We were going to be cut 25% last year. We wrote to government and they didn't cut us. I'd like to think it's because of our letter. They were going to cut us again 45% this year. We wrote again to government and raised it in our political circles. And they did cut us, but not by 45%, they reduced the cut. So we will continue to write and put the case for West Yorkshire in the same way that we have. But ultimately, whatever government comes in, they have to recognise that you get what you pay for, and if we keep on cutting policing, the public will not get what it wants and deserves. Trust and confidence in policing, the policing by consent that we all rely on, will be further eroded, and we'll end up in a situation where no one gets what they want and no one gets what they deserve. So it's a question for politicians ultimately, and we will use the powers and the influence that we've got to bring the needs of West Yorkshire to the forefront of politicians' minds.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Marston.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah. Hi, Alison. I think you may have already covered some of these off, but can you give us some specific examples of what steps you've taken in your first term as Deputy Mayor to make West Yorkshire a safer place for its residents?
Yeah, I mean, Tracy's talked about some of the work we've done on violence against women and girls, which I think has been fantastic. And again, on the doorstep, it was unbelievable how many people stopped us and said, it's great. And not just women, you know, men were grateful because their wives, daughters, sisters, aunts, etc. were feeling safer as a result of the phenomenal work that we've managed to achieve together with West Yorkshire Police. It's not been us because they're buying, and I think I'd like to take some credit for that, I have positively influenced West Yorkshire Police and the Chief Constable in particular to embrace the elimination of violence against women and girls. Tracy and I have spoken about our lived experience as part of that influencing process, which I think was very powerful. We've been able to be really open and honest with West Yorkshire Police about the experiences that we were hearing about, because we created space for victims of crime to come and talk to us about stalking, for example, and as a result of that, the police set up a stalking coordination unit. I have to say we were very challenging with West Yorkshire Police and their performance around stalking, and we used that lived experience that was reported to us in a group that we've set up for victims of stalking. And we were then able to fund a stalking advocacy service for 3 years, which has seen, I think it's over 2,000 people now. It's amazing the impact that it's having, and the outcomes for stalking victims are improving, and the satisfaction is also improving. More to do, but I think these are good examples of the work that we're doing as women who understand that it's not always safe to go out on a night. We've done a huge amount of work in the nighttime economy, particularly in places like Bradford. I've become the patron of Bradford at Night, working with the police, working with local authority, and the Bradford at Night and BID organisations to invest monies that the Mayor directed on taxi marshals, night marshals, walk safe, so, which has just been rolled out in Wakefield. We've been working with the police and local authorities to roll out El Savia, a licensing accreditation scheme, so that all staff know how to keep their customers safe, and particularly women and girls. Ask for Angela has been a brilliant initiative which has been delivered across the whole of West Yorkshire now, and there's massive buy-in from pubs and clubs, and women and girls understand what Ask for Angela is, and so that's been great. I could talk a lot about the Violence Against Women and Girls. I'd like to talk a little bit about the Police Race Action Plan. So I have really brought my lived experience and knowledge of our communities here in West Yorkshire to challenge the police about race disparities and the quality of reporting now that we get on race disparities. It's second to none. It's actually held up as a national exemplar. The work that we're doing here in West Yorkshire and the Police Race Action Plan work that we're doing is also a national exemplar, because West Yorkshire Police is listening to the communities it serves. It's set up now a specialist scrutiny group with black communities. As a result of that, they have developed a 2-day, it's really acclaimed nationally. The police can't believe, the National Police Chiefs Council can't believe the quality of this training that's happening. 2 days, every police officer and staff member eventually will go through it, and it's co-delivered with members of the black communities of West Yorkshire. It's incredibly powerful, and officers who have been through it, about 2,000 officers have gone through it so far, are saying, I'm really going to start to think differently about how I respond to the black community. Now I understand that history, I understand why there's that fear in that community, and I understand now why race disparities are a problem for policing and trust and confidence. And I think I've had a really big role to play in that, and the challenge that I've brought to West Yorkshire Police. And then finally, Vision Zero, I think I'd like to talk about that a little bit, because I identified from Amanda, but also from speaking to other councillors, other members of the public, that there was a real disconnect between local authorities' ambition for Vision Zero. Everyone said they were doing Vision Zero, everyone said they had a plan, they'd signed up for it, but nobody had a strategy. There was nothing joined up at a West Yorkshire level, there was no political buy-in. I spoke to Tracy, we agreed that we were going to go to our 5 leaders, get them to buy in at that political level, which they did. We did a big paper, we met them and convinced them that that was the right thing to do. We then brought in the police, we brought in the West Yorkshire Safer Camera Partnership, we brought in Highways England, Brake. We've got a member of the public with lived experience whose daughter was killed in a road traffic accident. We've brought as many people as we can who are relevant to this Vision Zero board, and we have brought leadership to this area of work across the whole of West Yorkshire, and the data is telling us it's beginning to work. The data is telling us people are understanding the impact of speeding on the roads, but also using phones and all the rest of it. We've got a lot of work still to come and big campaigns that we want to run together. But I think that I've had a big role to play in achieving the successes of Vision Zero that we've had today.
Thank you. Alison, over the years since you've been in course, I've been in lots of platforms because I've been leading role in council, and I've seen how you work and how you display yourself and produce yourself in the community with different aspects. And in my knowledge, you are doing absolutely brilliant. I did a brilliant job. The question I would really like to ask is, what in your first term has prepared you for another term? Or what would you do the same or different this term?
So I think in my first term, obviously I'd been the chair of the Police and Crime Panel, so I understood it from that perspective. I didn't understand it as much from this perspective, so obviously I now understand my role much better, so that's good. I didn't understand the power of devolution the way that I understand it now, and the opportunities that devolution can bring to the role of policing and crime. And actually, I don't think West Yorkshire Police understood that either. And little by little, I think the penny's dropping, and there's a lot more asks now into Tracy for, can you help with this, can you help with that? Because I think the opportunities are just small things like the apprenticeship levy. Tracy getting an apprenticeship levy from Morrison's to pay for PCSO training. You know, yes, paying for the PCSOs on the buses for the Safer Travel team. All that came from the bus service improvement plan. So because I now understand the huge opportunity of devolution on Vision Zero, we have reframed the City Region Sustainable Transport Funding, CRSTS, I can never remember. That's now Vision Zero part, you know, because that money came through the mayoral funding streams, spent in local authorities, but we're now making sure that that's spent in Zero.
25 million.
Yes. Yeah, 25 million for next year. We've already had money for the first 2 years and 25 million for the third year, and it'll go on. So huge opportunities which I haven't really understood. So now I have made it my business to understand a bit more about what Tracy does and what the opportunities are. So I've got a bit of a briefing internally in WICA where I get to find out about the pots of money that are coming in, how they benefit the portfolios that Tracy's responsible for, but then how can I improve policing through those pots? How can we influence those pots so that there's an impact for us? So, for example, Mass Transit, our Women and Girls Policy Officer, has been working with the Mass Transit team to understand how Mass Transit will have safety of women and girls built in as design. So I think that's been a brilliant thing that I've learned in the first 3 years, which I'll take forward into the next 4. Obviously, I've always I've understood that in this role you're massively under the spotlight, and you know, and I think before I was a third sector chief exec, you know, you could do your own thing, it didn't really impact. So I'm going to be a bit more careful in my next 4 years. I'm very friendly. I'm going to be a bit more careful, I think, is another lesson, I think, for the next 4 years.
Okay, thank you. I have no more indication that members would like to ask any other question. But Alison, before we close this section, is there anything that you would like to add to what you already had, if you would like to add anything else?
No, just that it's been a joy to work with you all for the last 3 years. I'm really pleased that we've got the Link members back in place, because it's not possible for you to understand the fabulous work that the team do supporting Tracy and I. We get to get the glory, but actually they do so much work to contribute to the fantastic outcomes that have been achieved and hopefully will continue to be achieved. So you being Link members really helps you to understand the detailed work that's happening in the background, the skill, expertise of the team that are delivering for us and delivering for everyone in West Yorkshire. So thank you for that time and commitment, and I hope that you'll continue to give the time that you gave in the first 3 years.
Okay, thank you. Thanks. Is everyone happy with Alison's comments? So thank you very much, Alison. Can we now exclude the press and members of the public?